Hello, hello, hello. Hello, EOS Nation. Are we live yet? Let me see if we're live in the stream.
Testing.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. I guess so. If I'm not hearing otherwise, welcome again, everyone here joining us for a live stream, and also hello to everyone watching this afterwards. We have a very special guest today, Chris Barnes. Thanks so much for joining us today here.
Yeah, I love the opportunity to get to be here, Martin. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of news to go through. There's the excitement and the momentum is really building in the EOS community. So Pomelo is live right now. We see a bunch of grants coming in. Chris helped actually to a couple of projects to write these grants and formulate them. Besides all the work that he does with the Eden community as a chief delegate. And yeah, there were also some other news, like block.one came out with funding, or not really funding, like Brock Pierce had this initiative like Helios. This was announced first of all through block.one, right? They came out shortly after Pomelo went live with some interesting stuff. We can go through some of this stuff, even though it's still a lot of room for speculation, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. I mean, if there ever was a revitalization of the enthusiasm surrounding EOS, it's here. Like, this feels a whole lot like B1 June all over again, except it's no longer reliant on B1. So I think we can all maybe we don't have to be that dependent. This is like EOS coming together, ENF, Eden, Pomelo doing what it's doing, and now Helios entering the market. We've got a lot of upward and positive trajectory that's going to really. I haven't been this excited being an OG, so to speak, in terms of a Genesis holder with EOS, a lingerer for most of the time, but I'm really excited about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, like, on top of this, the ENF is coming. Like, I didn't even mention them. And
did I not say them? I meant ENF.
No,
yeah, for sure.
You said them. Like,
okay,
they basically initiated a lot of the stuff. I didn't mention them because it's the next point. They released an article which you mentioned just B1 June, but they mentioned like a new Genesis. So EOS is really in this new moment where we're redefining the community, redefining our ecosystem, and everything is in place. If you say so, we will go through all of these things in a bit. We will go through a couple of grants. The grants on Pomelo are staggering. There's so many. I don't think we will get through all of them. I know we said we want to review them, but because there are so many, we have like nice announcements later how we can figure out, give everybody a stage basically to pitch once again to a community and answer some questions. So this comes later, and we'll also go through some smaller news and also to the head delegates. You also doing the head delegates meeting and do these posts.
Yeah,
it is all very well documented.
Try.
So we have a packed show once again.
So much going on. How do we keep track of it all? I don't know if we do, but as long as we're moving up and forward, that's good enough, right?
Absolutely. So let's see if people are joining us. Hello. Love handles in the house. Grizzly Cove, hello. Good to see you, Lahao. Cool. It seems like not many people were distracted by our little mistake there, announcing the stream going live on the stream a little bit later. But yeah, super cool that
lovely
you're
time
here.
zone changes, because that makes a ton of sense, right? No.
Absolutely. So let's take a look, jump right into the Pomelo stuff. So Pomelo is live. It has been like so busy there, like a lot of people tweeting and showing their grants. People show what grants they're interested in, what they support. It's really nice. Like, I'm checking regularly, like how the grants that I voted for are doing, and see also the power of quadratic funding, because we can see like we can here see like how much project raised, and then we see here that the projects that raised a lot, but the factor because of the quadratic funding, is always interesting to see how much they're actually getting to be matched. And that's one thing that is super interesting for me to check. We can see the contributors. You can match here how many individual contributors they have. And that's something interesting for me to see. And every day there are coming new grants in. And it's really like all these categories. I mean, infrastructure, we have a bunch of them. On top of, we have gray mass. Like, I think they're being a champion for a lot of people. We see like 98 contributors. But we also see like DeFi Box doing some NFT stuff, which is super interesting. We see some big data stuff. It's a lot of stuff, let alone in the infrastructure section, right? What is your favorite category so far?
Favorite category.
What is most needed?
It's honestly, it's hard to choose. There's so much. We all, I think, can reflect on the fact that EOS needs a lot to kind of get us to where we want to be. So infrastructure is key for sure, because that's almost like a foundational piece that allows a lot of these other projects to achieve success on top of. So, for example, the API tooling that Greymass is offering as an infrastructure piece, that's something that can be leveraged by many of these other projects. So to me, I think it's important we focus on a base layer and then look to scale. And what's super cool is there's going to be, this is quarterly. So these Pomelo sessions, these seasons happen every 3 months. So there's going to be an opportunity to, I mean, if you don't get what you're hoping for in this particular round in terms of these proposals, because there's so many proposals. I remember talking with people on the open mics that we do, you know, how many do you think we're going to get? And, 50, 20. And it's like, I don't even know how many we have, but it's got to be close to 50 or something. Like, there's a lot of projects here. I'm finding, and it's interesting you mentioned, if you sort by number of donors or number of contributors, it really does show the power of the quadratic nature of this. And if you pick on an actual, like, select one of these and you scroll down, you'll see that a lot of the donations are just one EOS. Like, it's not, it's about the quantity of people, or unique addresses at least, which hopefully are people that donate. And that's, so for those listening who, EOS has been rough on our pocketbook, so it's not really, you want to just donate, but one EOS, like here, like one EOS goes a long way to at least signaling your support for projects that you see value in. So it doesn't have to be a big dent in your pocketbook, but it does add a lot of value to sort of your voice and then how these projects receive the funding from the matching pool.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the season. It's these projects right now. We have like just one matching partner with the ENF, and it's 500,000 being distributed to so many projects. But there's no reason they can't apply for the next season again. And maybe, like, if this is a success, and we make sure that there are no attacks and that it's still a fair distribution. I can assume that, like, there's more funding coming, more matching pools, and these projects that right now get their initial funding to start developing in one direction, they can continue to use Pomelo as a funding route to maintain their activities. For example, like the EOSBs. This is a continuous, like, marketing strategy, and they're growing with time. So they need more and more budget in order for this to start.
Absolutely.
To grow.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. Some of these are more service-oriented projects. EOS Support is another great one. That's a service-oriented business to support and grow and be concierge for EOS. Like, I think that's really, it's a great name. And it's, so that's an ongoing product, a service that the EOS ecosystem will benefit from long-term. So we should hopefully see EOS Support here. And eventually, these projects that require ongoing support become well enough capitalized that they don't necessarily need more funding, and maybe they back out of a season or two, right? Like, that's, I think what's neat too is we're starting to see a reputation system built in to these projects. So right now we've got a whole wall of new projects. Some of them maybe we don't know the people behind them. Some of them we do. Like, if you look right now, you've got Hernan Arbor and John Williamson with EOS Starter and Violet Garden. Because they're Eden members, Hernan even has the golden Pomelo, because you can see he's got the golden circle around his name, his picture there. Right, these are people, oh, okay, I do know them. And this is where Eden, the power of Eden, and how it's adding this human layer to a decentralized, traditionally anonymous or pseudonymous blockchain ecosystems, having that human layer is a lot of value. I mean, I think we still haven't even scratched the surface of how Eden can be leveraged, and the importance of trust and reputation in building communities and ecosystem. The idea of anonymous community is a bit like an oxymoron. The only way you have community is through trust and reputation, and knowing the people in your community. There's value to that. Even if it just means you know their pseudonymous handle, it's nice to be able to put a face to the name and have video calls with people. So I think it's really cool that now when you're donating to these projects, like, yeah, I know John, he does great work. I love what he's doing. That makes it easier than, say, EOS Support doesn't have a picture there, but some of the other ones, it's, do we know these guys? Are they going to do are they who they say they are? And there's like maybe that trust barrier is a little harder to cross. Doesn't mean they're not good people. It's a little, takes an extra step to get there. So I think that's important for Pomelo pitch people to maybe consider, if you don't get the success you're looking for this round, maybe consider joining Eden so you can have your picture here and join some of the video calls and join some of the open mics and get to know the community as you as a person. And that, I think, helps other people donate. Because the other really important piece here is, yeah, we're donating to a project, but it's not just like I'm voting. It's easy to just vote. Like, we vote for VPs. That's no skin off my back. I can do that and not, I don't, but here I'm giving up my EOS. Like, if I'm donating to a project, I'm taking money out of my pocket and putting it in someone else's. And in order to make that leap, where there's like an opportunity cost for me, it's a lot easier when I can know the person and I make a connection to like John Heater and Mark Stair. And that's part of when I did these Pomelo pitch interview series. What I really wanted, one of my intentions was to try to get to know the people behind the project, so that the viewers and the potential donors, they can make a connection to the person, not just, yeah, it's a great project, but that's a good person. And I want to support that person. And I think that's a really important factor that is starting to be introduced into this ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I even, like, it also goes the other way, right? People reach out to me, they see that I donated for their project, and they come back to me and, hey, thanks for supporting your project. At the same time, I get to know, like, I see what everybody's working on. I usually see them talking about like one topic in Telegram or in Discord, but I'm not necessarily always knowing what they put their passion and their knowledge and their skill sets in. And with all these like different categories, everybody has a place to really like showcase what inspired them and what they want to do in the community and how they want to contribute. And that also gives room for synergies. How two projects that might be in, working on a similar thing, they can start like seeing, I have this building block, I have this building block, and therefore like you can really coordinate so much dynamics within the community from something like Pomelo.
You nailed it. That is so important. Again, decentralized, anonymous, pseudonymous people, how do you coordinate those things? How do you coordinate all these people, right? Like it's really hard. So in my mind, EOS has the greatest chance of success if we can use one of the principles behind More Equal Animals from Dan Larimer is 1 + 1 = 3. And the reason why it can is if you have two disparate people who don't really know each other, aren't working together, and you can align them to push in the same direction, you're going to get more output. And if they were to push in their own separate direction. So now with Pomelo, we have this window into all these great projects that the different disparate community members in EOS who aren't talking to each other, don't even know what they're all working on. And now we can, so I'm going through an exercise of going through each pitch one by one, making notes, summarizing what they do, why they're doing it, how they're doing it. And then can I find room where the overlap, where is the overlap? Where's the synergy? Because if we can recognize those and try to, and I say we, like, some central piece like the ENF can do this, Helios can do this, Eden can even do this with some of its funding. Try to recognize these synergies and then encourage collaboration and get people to start to work together. And there is a bit of redundancy. Like, as I've gone through these, I see some projects that like the NFT standards. How many NFT standards are we really going to have on EOS? Ideally, we kind of have one, or at least we have an ability for them to all interoperate. Otherwise, we're going to start creating kind of these silos, and that's kind of what we don't want. So we can kind of head that off if we are able to at least now talk, okay, hey, look, you guys are doing this, you're doing that. How can this mesh together and create something that's even more powerful and more meaningful and impactful than it would have been had you done it independently? So that's a big focus for me. And that's kind of been my view for a lot of my introduction into Eden and how I envision and it's about community. It's about like when you have a community of people who know each other, they work together and they have a common goal. And for me, the common goal here, it might sound simple, EOS price go up. If we can align everyone with this view of just EOS price go up, then we can kind of put our differences aside and recognize that if that's the goal and it's superficial and it's very base layer, but at least from there, we can have some common direction. And yeah, there might be some, friction, but at least that's a common narrative we can all agree with probably.
Right. No, absolutely. And you said you're still working on like finding these synergies and making notes and communicating. Before Pomelo went live, you already started like doing these. You helped helped create pitches, but you also did these like really nice interviews. You did this on the Evolve Eos.
Evolve Eos, yeah.
Evolve Eos. What is Evolve Eos? First of all, it's a pretty new YouTube channel. We will put this later in the subscription, so people can watch all these videos, which are really in depth, great interviews. I hope they come for every pitch, but this is probably a pitch by itself to document and show.
Yeah, I'll need to sub out this work. Eos? Sure. Well, thanks for asking. I'll definitely need to sub out if anyone interested content creator is looking to kind of pick up the reins where I'm not able to cover all of these pitches because I can't. Definitely let me know. Hit me up because I'll be looking for help. Evolve Eos is a new YouTube channel. Evolve is autonomic evolution of sorts. So it's just a way to consider a natural biomimicry way of evolving the EOS ecosystem. What is the big picture of EOS, right? So Joshua Seymour is an Eden member, a very, very thoughtful, passionate, intelligent guy with some really, really unique views on how a community can expand and really encompass a greater scope and a really meaningful scope. And so EOS as a country, EOS as a community, EOS as a company. So that's what we want to evolve EOS into. EOS as a company, EOS as a community, EOS as its own country. And it sounds fluffy and what does that even mean? But I think we can all get the idea of like, as a company, we working together, there's synergies, we have potentially centralized in some respects. And that just means that it's just centralized attempts to coordinate. That's what centralization doesn't mean you dictate what people do. It could just mean that you find the overlapping, the synergies, and you need to have kind of a central view, like a top-down view of where do these things all fit together. So that's centralized as well. And I don't think that's necessarily the same definition as centralized sometimes gets in blockchain. But so this website, this YouTube channel is going to be, right now, these are the first set of videos and they're Pomelo pitch interviews. We're gonna have other interviews of key thought and opinion leaders in the EOS ecosystem, perhaps some how-to videos, and just make this another venue. I personally was looking for a place to sort of express some of my video work and content towards EOS, and the Eden EOS YouTube channel was one place I was placing content, but it's very focused to Eden. And then the Everything EOS channel that Zach All was kind enough to let me use, they're going to be using that more for the ENF's purposes, which makes perfect sense. So that's not really a great venue either for me to post some stuff. So we've created this as a place to post and host these type of videos. So yeah, you can see it here. This is the website. It's still new. This is very much under construction, and it's a lot of it's just an idea that we're just trying to figure out how to manifest, and with the intention of just making EOS awesome. I mean, that's the underlying intention here, is just how do we make EOS awesome, and how do we create abundance in the EOS ecosystem?
Exactly. No, this is like, I applaud you. This is awesome. The way this, like, I don't even mind that it's work in progress, that it's still early. Like, everything is constantly work in progress, and it comes from all areas that people see this new potential of building and hoping, and like exchanging what they're doing, because it is becoming more public, and there's a reason, like when you put yourself out there, there are people that are picking up on what you're doing. And you just compared it to a company and to a country, and in a country, in politics, like we have something like lobbyists, and in a way you're becoming, with what you're doing, a lobbyist for so many projects, for so many initiatives, and you're not the only one. Like, people become like what they donate on, or what they show, they really leverage their own communities, their own following to show, hey, I'm supporting these. Like, for example, Rack Kid, he shows a tweet like, okay, these projects that I'm supporting, because he's like like you, like a lot of other people there in the community for a long time, and they can vouch, right? They can similar, like we have the proxies with voting for BPs. We will see these structures for how funding gets distributed.
Absolutely. Yeah, and guys like
right?
Retkid, who, I mean, and that's I love that Retkid's still here, because when I was more of a lurker, I followed this guy in his tweets, assuming it's a male, and so this is great that he's still active and putting his view, because yeah, opinions matter more, I think, in a way. Like there's a higher weight on the opinion of people who are really into the nitty gritty and understand the history and understand the track record and what got us here. So this is really valuable that people like that express their views for others who might be new to sort of influence, right? What they might do, because like you say, one EOS per project, like we spoke about, that is meaningful. So if you're not sure, you're like, there's so many projects to look at, where do I start? It's a bit daunting. Maybe go to some trusted people like Red Kid and see, where is he dedicating his energy and thought space to. And there's so many good projects. And there's one that came up today that I would like to mention. Now, there's a few I'd like to mention, but James Mart, his project, he was on vacation, so he didn't get it put up right away, but it's the Eos Power Network. And he's got a view, this kind of vision, which I really like. And it's allowing EOS to become sort of the financial settlement layer for all EOS IO chains. And the question we've kind of asked is how do we tie in these other EOS IO chains? Like how do we reunify? Because this whole tribalism thing is unfortunate, because I think a lot of people got into EOS, and I don't want to speak for anyone, but my view, my opinion at least, is a lot of people got into EOS a lot because of Dan Larimer's principles and this idea of securing life, liberty, property, justice for all. That's something that a lot of people got into Bitcoin, I think, a lot of because of philosophical reasons, not just because they wanted to, win Lambo. Sure, some did, but I think the majority were more about philosophically banking the unbanked and how do we disrupt disintermediate and disrupt these legacy financial institutions. And so that philosophical drive, I think, brought a lot of people into EOS. And so when we saw this fracturing into Telos versus EOS, and I don't think Wax and EOS is very competitive, but I do see that within Telos and the EOS ecosystem. And it doesn't need to be that way. We can all do a specialty and just find a way to collaborate. How do we align our respective goals to push in the same direction? And right now, I think that's a really great need. And one of the ways we can accomplish that is by promoting this idea. There's James's one right there. Promoting this idea that EOS becomes a settlement layer, a financial settlement layer for all the EOS IO chains, including itself. And what this project does is allows for pull transactions. Does not sound very sexy, as Jane mentioned in the video I did with him, but it's essentially, traditionally in every blockchain, in order to move funds, you need to, as the account owner, as the fund owner, you initiate the transfer. You do a push transaction to send funds to another entity. But that's not how subscription-based services work. It's not how donations work. And it's not how a lot of if you look at the bills you pay, a lot of those are pull transactions. If you pre-automate your hydro bill or utility bill, any of those kind of bills, those are all pull transactions. So that doesn't exist in blockchain. That's a huge problem. If we want to reduce the friction to really bring in big business into blockchain, we want to make it as similar as to the current legacy system that they currently operate in. And that's also for the users. So what James is proposing is brilliant, because it allows for you don't have to have any escrow now. You don't lose control of your funds. There's no risk to the address owner, like to the asset owner as us individuals. Mm-hmm. But now it creates a system contract on EOS that Netflix can now jump, if they want to take advantage of what a blockchain can do for whatever reason, for their business needs, they can now enter EOS and do subscription services. And we don't pay Netflix a year in advance and then watch it be deducted every month, right? We pay monthly, or you pay a year in advance and that's it, you're done with it. Right. So this is a really important project. Right. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, that people, because it was only put up yesterday, has very little support. And I think that's just because it's so low on the list. But this, in my view, is extremely important, that people need to consider the power of what having pull transactions and making the idea of EOS becoming a financial settlement layer for the entire ecosystem. Like no other blockchain, in fact, has this. Netflix can't go to Ethereum and do pull transactions and subscriber base or ongoing donations on Ethereum. None of them, in fact. James has done a lot of research. He hasn't found anyone solving this yet. EOS would be the first chain to solve this problem. That's really big.
Absolutely. And also like the cross-chain aspect of it. Like later on, like I actually like there was one project also John Heder. He's like having a proposal where he's working on some IBC research and has some solutions. I know like back, I think he was involved when Boss had their IBC running. There was already some experiments going on with IBC, and it was like since the mainnet, like the whole idea of EOS.io was like, hey, this is an open source blockchain protocol. You can launch it, and then we have the settlement layer EOS, which is like the most secure one. But like whatever you want to do, if you're a company, you can run your private chain and hash things, similar things like what Bullish is planning to do. So having all these things coming together, and also having all these different use cases on different chains. I really look forward to see this coming to fruition, and funding mechanisms like this make it like at least they can accelerate the process, so we don't need to wait for let's say block one.
That's right. Well, it not only does it accelerate it, it just identifies them. Like think of like, so between pre-Pomelo to now, how many more projects are we all aware of that actually are ongoing and are meaningful for the EOS ecosystem, right? I mean, exactly. So we didn't know about half this stuff. And if you did, but most people who are not, I mean, they have a life to live. They can't follow every single project, every single Telegram channel. Obviously, it's impossible. This is now aggregating all these great ideas into one place. Like the service that Pomelo is providing, big props and shout out to Daniel Keys and the EOS Nation team and EOS Asia to put this together. And we should thank block.one for the $640K funding to basically build this project, to get this built. Pomelo was built with B1 funding, and we can't forget that. So this is a huge service to the EOS ecosystem, and it's just the beginning. We've just seen the start. So if we can start to actually like pick and really like execute on some of these projects, and then we do this every quarter. I mean, this is going to scale really fast, and it's really, that's why I'm so excited for reinvigorated my passion and excitement for EOS. One thing I'll mention about that settlement layer piece, for example, Haifa DAO, which is Reiki and so he created this. He spent 3 years, him and a team have spent about 3 years building this amazing DAO. They call it a DHO, a DHO, a decentralized human organization, and it was a great. My introduction was that interview. I didn't know the details of this at all until I really did that interview with Reiki. And he even mentioned during this pitch that they use EOS. It's built on Telos. They built this on Telos, but they use EOS for the financial piece because it's more liquid. And so even though it's a Telos project, they are using the EOS token as how they pay and how they do batch payment transactions. And they do, so even right there, you can kind of see this, like, these chains can still talk and be friends and just utilize their respective strengths. Like, let's find out what are we all good at, and let's focus on that. Let's not be competitive and try to like, just each be the same. No, let's be our own special thing that we can do, but just how do we work together? And Reiki demonstrated that here anyway. And this is another really, really good one. This DAO DAC do setup is incredible. They have use holacracy as part of how the org structure works. They have like a whole, because holacracy is a bit of a beast in terms of trying to wrap our heads around it. We're so used to hierarchical structures and this kind of command and control, and that's how we execute. We have to have hierarchy. We have to have a leader. We got to have a boss. That holacracies blow that out the window. We don't. We're all super important. We're all special and important people with unique ideas. And the best organization in my mind is one that can leverage everyone's strength and mitigate the downside of their weakness. And you do that by collaborating. And holacracy allows for that. So they've got that built in. Haifa has a whole holacratic system with a visualization tool and how to do pay bands and how to do bounties. And like, it's really, really well done. I'm super excited for this to be ported over to EOS. And maybe we use this in Eden and maybe any other, like it's taking, and again, redundancy. Daclify also has a pitch up, and I haven't figured out where the differences are there. And I'm sure there's some unique aspects to each. But I definitely see that this Haifa thing is super powerful, and I'm really excited to bring it over to EOS and support it.
Yeah, the video that I'm showing right now here, this is like the stuff that they've been working on, and the introduction that Reiki is giving is really like an amazing video to showcase that. Like I'm as amazed by what he did as you are. I will put these videos in the description. later on. Like, like it's really so many grants. We won't give anyone any justice to the amount. So please, we're not picking favorites here. We're just like talking about like here. We see like Corvin. He has been he's watching the stream right now. So he does great things with Liquid. They're doing an SDK for game developers on EOS. They also did like a great introduction. So we see like these projects, besides their Pomelo pitch, they kind of go out to promote not just the people that vote, but also the projects. They come out. They do introduction videos, longer articles, like. We see also here like Apologist coming back and explaining again like what public goods are for and how important it is for, let's say, a company or a country, an ecosystem. 100%. So all these things, like we see like Philip Hammett from Chintai coming up and working with other developers together, creating like the EOS Dev DAO, which is another DAO, right?
Yeah.
I want to see what kind of framework they're going to use.
This is where I think a lot of these DAOs, they may want to port to Haifa once they see it. It's just that good. But that doesn't, and that's easy. Why not, right? You can transition to a new framework. So yeah, there's great stuff. Yeah, Corvin is such a good guy. Like that's another one of those ones where you interact with someone and he comes on to the open mics and you're like, yeah, I like this person. I want to donate to them, even if their project I don't even know, but I like him. So I'm gonna give to him, right? Like I think that's really cool about this, that people are starting to come out of this idea of being pseudonymous and anonymous. Like, no, be you, be the person that you are, and that's gonna carry you a lot further than just having a good idea and a nice website, I think.
Absolutely. Like which one? This one is, yeah, here we see the token sale platform from EOS Starter. They're also a funding mechanism. It's more commercially focused, like it's a launch pad basically, but they open source the token sale platform. So if you want to do your independent token sale, like, because a lot of people ask like, how can I make my more commercial or not public good project a public good? It's by open sourcing parts, building blocks of your project.
Yeah, that's exactly
it. That's an example.
It's very clever. Yeah, ENDRGRND did the same thing with, and I'm involved with that project. So, but I know that the original submission was declined because it's like, no, this, you don't quite have the public good piece here, because it was kind of a for-profit thing that's can make a lot of money. And so, but what's so great is that you get feedback. Like, it's not like Pomelo is this like wall of black box you don't know. It's like, no, it's Daniel Keys and the team there, and they're good guys, and they interact with you. You're like, no, maybe, and they kind of help. So, Ray was able to tweak the pitch to make it make more sense in terms of like dialing in on that part that can be a public good, like you said, Martin, and like EOS Starter did here with the token sale contract. As a business, EOS Starter is a for-profit thing that is going to incubate projects, but it's not all a public good. Like, not every project can be just given away for free. Like these are businesses as well, but he's taken a piece of what he needs to do to build out the entire EOS Starter suite, and that piece he's funding for, and that will be open sourced and given to the community. So for those who are watching this and like, my project's not a public good, don't be dissuaded. Just consider what piece of your project can be a public good, and then focus in on that for your proposal.
Right. Another thing that I see like across the board is like new development languages. Like we see here Go. Someone wants to do like help make it easier for people that use Golang to write smart contracts on EOS with Go. We had like
Python.
There's Python libraries. Yeah, here's ENDRGRND, what you just said. So yeah, we can't
do them all, but it's tokenizing physical solar assets and allowing people to own a piece of a physical solar asset. That's how that works.
Right.
But so I mean, that's when you own a piece of a solar asset, you get paid, you get revenue from your chunk of ownership. So not really public good. You'd have to do KYC in order to get access. So it's not even, I mean, there are some roadblocks in terms of the idea of being open and non-rivalrous. Well, if you have to do KYC, it's not exactly open to everybody, right? So this is where now the funding for this is just the interface between the Anchor wallet and the front end, and then this back end ability to tokenize the assets. That's the part that if you wanted to tokenize pick your asset, physical asset. Now you can take what Ray and the Energios team is going to build and then apply that to your product that you want to then tokenize some piece of asset that you can then make that easier to bring that to market. So yeah, there's so many good projects. I like, again, another one that I'm involved in is the education one. I think that's really cool. That
let's go through this. We talked a lot about.
I shouldn't be showing my own
infrastructure
projects. I feel like
no, that's fine.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good one. This is a perfect public good because it's all about just education. It's creating education
right?
for fractal democracy. So, if the Eden process from Dan's book, More Equal Animals, and then also holacracy, which again, I think is a really important consideration for especially kids to start to learn about. Companies don't have to be this hierarchy. It doesn't have to be a top-down chain of command. It can be very flat. We can all collaborate. That's holacracy. And then teaching kids about blockchain. That's how much primary school, grades 3 to 8, how much material is there to teach kids about blockchain? I don't think there's a ton. So part of our goal here is to create a suite of teaching material that's not just like a bunch of PowerPoints or some YouTube videos. It's like actual guides. So if you're a primary school teacher, you go onto this site and for free, you can pull down all the how-tos to teach you to teach the material at hand. There'll be some curriculum. We've got a children's book, like nearly complete, in fact. So this is to raise money for like an illustrator to draw the pictures for the children's book that describes the Eden process. And there's like the popular girl is Eden and you'll never win against her, don't worry. But then Dan's the kid in class who has this great idea. What if we broke everyone into small groups and we picked amongst our groups and we moved up? And my dad's reading this book called More Equal Animals. So it's like this, so we're doing that. And then we've got a guy named Dennis, who's a high school teacher near the end of his career. He's teaching financial literacy to senior students in high school. And he's basically decided, instead of just teaching what he normally would teach the easy way, he's like, no, I'm going to create a whole new curriculum for his end of his career about teaching what is money, savings, blockchain, like, and then it's not just about EOS, but EOS fits right into that, right? Because blockchain, BTC that happened, but then EOS.io, why EOS.io? Like what problems does EOS.io solve? And then EOS is here. So he's going to teach all of that to these high school students. And then that program, that curriculum, any high school teacher can now use. So like the scalability and the importance of this kind of, so anyway, it's just one project that I personally find this, I'm passionate about this one, I think.
Yeah, I'm sold. Add it to my cart.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I don't mean it. I mean, yeah, they're trying to, there's so many great projects. I don't want to be like that. But.
Absolutely. No, you got me. So yeah, there are absolutely too many projects. And probably next week, we continue to talk about those that are new. One thing that I mentioned earlier, we will do Pomelo pitch sessions. That's just came out like 2 hours ago on the Pomelo, like at Pomelo Grants Twitter. You can sign up if you have a project and if you want to pitch it to the community. We will do this on the EOS Community Discord. There will be different sessions. So far, this is the sign-up form. It's basically just how we can contact you, and then there are 3 dates to pick from. I just want to see like what the demand is there, how many people feel comfortable or see the need or actually just want to talk 5 minutes. It will be 5 minutes and then 15 minutes of Q&A. It's really like, for me, an experiment to see how the community, if the community wants that, if it's needed. Mm-hmm. We try to like, because that's another thing, we see like projects from China coming on Pomelo, we see projects from Korea. That's another mix and mingle, right? Where we see like, hey, what the Pomelo proposals are all about, how people think what kind of improvement EOS needs right now and how they can help realizing this. And it's basically like showing a lot of sentiment, a lot of like ideas and pooling them together. And so I think like having, similar like you do the Eden open mic, having like a Pomelo open mic and having people that are pitching there, and then people can make suggestions, ask questions, and create some of those cooperations and synergies that we gave examples for earlier, is hopefully we have some people signing up.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And like I like the server, the Discord server. We try to do more activity there. This is a great activity for this season.
So this will be in the open voice, like the voice chat room. So for people who are new to Discord, is that how you're going to do it? Or are you going to try that stage thing?
That's a little bit of the thing. We will probably experiment with the stage, because the stage it offers a more organized kind of like, here's the mic right now, somebody asks a question, you bring this person up to the stage and they ask a question and you put them down. But the voice channel is a little bit more yeah, it's just open, you come in, you can immediately talk. Let's see how it works. What I also realized about the stage channel, so the stage channel, it's free for everybody to use. It's not really just for us to do our events there. I realized when you open the stage channel, you immediately have some people coming in, because Discord notifies kind of the people that are all online. So when we were testing the stage channel for the first time, we immediately had like 5 people joining and see what's up here. So it might be good to, if you feel lonely, just go into stage channel and open the mic.
Just start it. Yeah. See, I like to talk. Maybe we should do the open mics there then too, if that's how it to increase engagement.
Yeah, but the problem with the stage channel is it doesn't support video. So that's kind of the trade-off that we're having.
Got it.
Stage channel is really like a Clubhouse situation, or like similar like Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse, where it's mic only.
Okay.
And no video sharing. So that's also the reason why I'm not sure what we're doing. I will ask the people if they want to kind of share their screen in order to pitch. And based on what people are doing, I will put the groups together and see what fits best.
Great.
Again, if there are any suggestions for this idea, feel free to reach out or leave it in the comments, leave it in the chat. I haven't looked at the chat for a while yet. And also, you mentioned earlier the golden border, and you mentioned of the Twitter profiles, and that the Eden profiles are showing the pictures. Another thing that happened for the launch was like, now we have the Pomelo badge season 1. So all the people that have the golden Pomelo can now blend on blend.gems.io the golden Pomelo into a season 1 badge.
Is it a 1-for-1?
Which gives
like 1 Pomelo equals 1 badge, or do I gotta?
Exactly. Yeah, it's
okay,
1-for-1. It's 1-for-1. And if you want to make the most pimped version of your profile picture, you're an Eden member, you hold a golden Pomelo, and you hold a badge.
Oh, so the
the
badge even looks different in terms of how it displays versus the golden Pomelo.
Yeah, the badge will come with yet another cosmetic feature. I blended mine. It's not active yet. It will come soon, I suppose. But also, what people need to be aware of, the golden Pomelo, don't burn all of them. They will be useful in the next season. So we will have every quarter, we will have like a season for Pomelo grants, right? But we also have like a season for a new series of NFTs.
Okay.
Right. So the golden Pomelo will be useful. I'm
gonna need more trees. I ended up, I've got a couple because I was like, I really collected some trees and was doing it, but I only have 2 left now. I gave one away, so I'll hang on to one.
That's good. Spread this Pomelo love.
I was like, who else? Right? Yeah, there's some. Well, they're cool, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I like the NFT thing is if there's utility, and so having that little circle around my name, face, that's utility. There, it does something.
Yeah. Speaking about NFTs, another blending went live, or is about to go live. It's Byron's things. We went a little bit late here with it was actually for Halloween, but we were so occupied with other things. So everybody that has a flower now can start blending their other Byron stuff. And Byron also has the Pomelo.
He has a pitch too. Yeah, he's got one up there.
Yeah. Where is it? It's in arts.
It's arts,
right?
Yeah.
Should be in arts and media.
Hard to find them. There's so many.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, I really like the cover. Yeah. So again, like if you're an artist, you don't need to be a developer or anything. You can pitch your things on Pomelo. We're always coming back to Pomelo.
Yeah. As we should. He's great though. This one's awesome. Look how good that is.
Yeah, and he's like every day, if you follow his Twitter, like there's so much going on. He's really grinding like so much output. And what he wants to do, he wants to actually bring a lot of the great NFT tools that we have on Wax, bring over to EOS. And I would love to see this. I would like to see this pitch succeed and more people working together. But as you said, like there are different people working on NFTs projects. Maybe they all can come together. And obviously Byron has a lot of ideas and has all the experience on how to market and how to produce an interesting NFT series on Wax, but he's missing the tools on EOS. So, you know, maybe one of the people that propose these NFT standards can help him realize some of his ideas.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see it. There's a few projects on Pomelo that's actually part of their goal is to bring their project from an EOS.io sister chain over to the EOS mainnet.
Yeah.
So that's actually, it's nice. That's nice to see. Like Pomelo is becoming another tool to not just do public goods, but just to reunite some of our community. Like it's another great aspect about it.
Right. I think here Immersis, right? Immersis was one of them. We see, oh no, it's not here. Immersis is like a metaverse that's on Wax currently pretty hyped. Yeah, he went like Charlie Q, I think is his name.
That's correct. Yeah.
Or we see CXC. CXC is doing music NFTs on Wax. Yeah, Douglas Butner. He was actually with us on the Metaverse Music Festival that we did 2 weeks ago, actually on Halloween.
Oh,
that was part of the reason for the delay. Yeah, again, so great to see all these people and give them more exposure here. Hopefully also in the pitch sessions, starting probably on Thursday, if people sign up for Thursday, coming week at 15 UTC.
Yeah, well, I mean, and people keep in mind that this whole thing ends December 1st. So there's right. So if you're thinking about contributing and you're looking for projects, know that you've got until December 1st to do so.
Right. So let's move on a little bit. We talked about mainly like Pomelo stuff, but we dug into a couple of projects and basically gave like an overview. But there's other things happening, right? Let's dig a little bit into this.
Just a couple. There's a couple things on the go.
Yeah, it's like so much.
Good luck keeping up, people. I can't.
Yeah. So the EOS Network Foundation brought out a new article. We talked about this earlier, like a new genesis, like you called it, like a new B1 moment. Everybody feels the excitement, and it's showing a little bit the things that already happened. I really like this like weekly post from the EOS Network Foundation going through their track record, basically recapturing everything. Because there's so much hype and there's so much more activity coming on on the EOS Twitter. I see so much activity on people that are posting about Twitter about EOS currently. A lot of people come new in and they have these articles which recaps for them everything that happened and why it happening and give them the context to come newly into the EOS community. But we covered most of the things here. The new grant, Wave of Recognition grant that came out it's something new though, right? And we saw a great meme here by Crypto Meme 7. It's the new wave was all about developer tooling and audits, and that goes in the direction what we talked about last week, that audits will become a new pillar, right? Making it available for dev teams to fund and coordinate how audits are being done and executed. So it's not really like a team needs to kind of look for the best team for themselves. The EOS Network Foundation will do, like they did already some vetting. They looked who are the players and what is used and who continue to build. And there might be also some funding for these audit firms. They're already getting some funding to maintain their businesses and to extend their offering. But also Audit Plus will be one of the pillars that is one of the working groups, right? And that will produce one of the blue papers that will come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, this article, please give it a read if you haven't yet. It will be in the show notes. It summarizes all the grants that came out and give a little blurb about all these projects, again, like more projects. And these are projects that are already working.
It's super clever. The way Zach, I mean, shout out to Zach Gall. The guy is really, he's really got his finger on marketing and how to really, he's so fun to watch anyway. I mean, we definitely, I think we can all agree that we want to see more Zach Gall videos and doing some, it won't be the Everything EOS show, but something, we got to get more Zach because he's so exciting and it's just fun to watch and to listen to what he thinks. And he was really, really clever. I think he had a lot to do with the rollout of these grants, where the very first grant was media. And of course, you start with media because in that same media talks about the rest of your grants, right? So, I mean, it's really smart to start with that. And then he went in, the next one was DeFi and interoperability. And that's like, so some real life actions, like what do we do in EOS? How do we, like, if I want to join EOS, what am I going to do once I get here? Well, here's a whole bunch of projects that you can integrate and work within. And now we're getting to sort of this, so we've seen some projects. Now, how do we support these projects? What's the next piece? And this idea of auditing tools and who do you trust, right? And that's, again, benefits of centralization. I'd like to be able to trust that an auditor is a good auditor because I don't have the skill set to necessarily determine that myself. So good on the ENF for how they're approaching this. I think they've done an excellent job, and I'm really excited to see what I think, is there 4 in total? Is there just one more wave coming? I can't remember how many they're doing, but I believe there's one more still to go.
Potentially, I'm not sure about the waves. There will be 4 pillars coming out with blue papers. We'll see
whether they map to waves or not. Either way, it's fun to watch. I mean, I just think it's great to see, and they've a bunch of great projects they've picked. I personally can't. I mean, I think it's excellent how they've done this, and a lot of really deserving projects. So for those who aren't fully paying attention, if you want to get a sort of a snapshot of some great projects and teams that have really been putting in the time since day one within the EOS ecosystem, definitely check out these recognition grants and then look at the projects because they're really committed teams. They've been around, they're delivering on actual projects with minimal funding in a difficult ecosystem for some time. So yeah, definitely some great stuff there. And yeah, and it's nice to see that they did this, like these recognition grants, that's recognizing what they've done. Like it's a well-named way to distribute funding and keep them pushing, pushing this ball up this hill that is EOS to the top of the mountain.
Yeah. And depending on what they do with these fundings and how they develop, like this is just the beginning, right? The way this foundation works is really like see who's pushing and who needs support, and then see where support is needed, and also analyze their business models if it's really like something that needs funding. Another news that came out, like they finally have their 7th board member. We had 6 board members of the board of advisors, and now we have the 7th member, and it's Damien Bion. I hope I don't butcher his name. If it would be Chinese, it would be easier for me. But yeah, it's great to see, again, like someone that was there at the very beginning of the mainnet launch and like coming back and engaging with the community and sharing all their experience and also their knowledge. So Damien is coming from Acro EOS, and he was like involved with the item games. They were really early doing like gaming and also NFTs on EOS. But yeah, there was not enough for them to sustain their business. And he can learn where he can basically give input on where it was hard for them and where they would have needed support back then. And he's also like a representative for the Korean community. That's what I really like about the Network Foundation. It really builds these advisory board. It's international. It's something that I really appreciate.
The global approach is definitely, again, EOS as a country, we don't have any borders. So the global approach is definitely how we're going to achieve maximum success here. So yeah, it's great to see that they've chosen the advisory council they have.
Yeah. Now we're going full circle. We're back at the Pomelo.
And props to ENF, right? They dropped 500K into this first round. So I think we need to give them plenty of thank you for supporting the EOS ecosystem and doing what you're doing.
But these were not all the news. There was something. Okay, well, congratulations to EOS. We have 3 million accounts right now. That's something that happens.
It's pretty awesome.
We'll probably be way more soon, but yeah, another milestone reached.
We're going to enter the exponential growth phase of EOS, we hope, right? So it took us 3 years to get to 3 million. Hope it takes us just one more year to get to another, to get to 6 million. Let's double it in the next year. That's a good goal, I think.
I like the sound of that. So yeah, let's get into the juicy news. Like, I mean, we all don't know what to expect from this. I think this started here with this article that came out, right? It came out beginning of last week, I think, beginning of this week.
It was, yeah, within the past 7 days or so, I think.
Yeah. And
yeah,
it came
November
to
8th,
surprise.
5 days ago.
It came to a surprise of many people. But basically, block.one comes out and they say they want to leverage their EOS holdings to fund ecosystem growth. And they put their trust and they started cooperating with Block Peers. So Block Peers will be, he has a history, like he was part of block.one before the mainnet launch. He then funded the EOS Alliance, which was doing a lot of the work on the formulating the constitution, because when we launched, there was just like a constitution, like it was more of a placeholder, and then the community came together and had, like, again, these international calls and this cooperation to find out, okay, which is the direction that we want to go on. And that was the EOS Alliance that funded all this cooperation and this communication. And that's also, these calls were like how I met a lot of the people that are in the community. So Block Peers back in the community being active, and what it seems to be pretty well funded. So the first transaction that went here, and that's already in the account of Helios Rising, it's 8 million EOS, which is $40 million at current prices. And yeah, it's super exciting. I can't wait to hear more about this. I know that the EOS Network Foundation in form of Eve and block.one in form of Brandon and Brock also had a meeting this week. Hopefully we'll hear more about this later on, again, with a nice article potentially. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah. Go, keep going.
I'm done. No,
I'm also very excited about, I think, what this can represent. I liked one of Brock's tweets. He said that Helios is committed to empowering the EOS community with tools and resources by supporting the creation of infrastructure, tooling and documentation for developers, and organizing community events around education, networking, and use case development, and more. So I find that, to me, that's really exciting, because I know part of some of the narrative or how it's described is this is a VC and an incubator, and traditionally VCs are very much focused on a return, right? There's very, very rare that you'll see, they'll look at a project by project basis and they look at the return, and if there's no return, sorry, you're not getting funding. And I think that was part of the issue with how block.one deployed their capital in terms of trying to use a VC and to encourage project development on EOS. That was one of the other problem is it just wasn't directed at EOS. So just small misalignment of incentive and goals there. But so it seems to me it's clear that Brock isn't mincing words about saying EOS.io. He said EOS. And he didn't mention anything about this necessarily being just traditional VC. So it's to be determined, of course, but it seems to me that this is probably going to have a VC and incubator wing and a portion of what Helios does, but it's much more than that. I think it's much more, and again, to be determined, but my take is that this is something that's really going to do part of the social contract that we all sort of expected block.one to fulfill. And that's just making EOS awesome. How do we create abundance in the EOS ecosystem? And we kind of hope block.one would do that. And they didn't. It's just fair to say they didn't, but that's okay. You know what? Now we're still here. We haven't given up. We're hardened. Those who are still here obviously are here potentially maybe for the right reasons, and not just about filling your bags. And I think that's personally more meaningful. And Helios is here now to do. He's all in on EOS, and I think that's EOS. He's not all in on filling his bags. He's not all in on making a bunch more dough, right? He's on EOS, and so that to me is I don't know Brock, but I can resonate with that, and I can align my personal ambitions and desires with that view. So, time will tell, but I'm really excited for this opportunity and the fact that we've got maybe something's going to be done with these vested tokens by someone and an organization that's actually going to deliver on some of these social contracts that we all thought were actually something that was supposed to be adhered to and weren't. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, Brock is like the chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation. He has been like active, like bringing Bitcoin to El Salvador. he went visiting there. He took Luke Stokes from FIO Network, which is also an EOS.io chain. We talked about like how the different EOS.io chains can be substantial in one ecosystem. So yeah, having Brock saying he's all in, I think that's making some nice waves for us.
It sure does.
And also,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm excited about what Helios is going to do. Like that's just like the next thing that might come out.
And just do, right? Keyword is do, right? It's one thing, a lot of people can talk the talk and it's easy to talk. You can say anything you want. It's the doing that actually matters. What are you doing? What are you actually doing with your hands, with your feet, and making things happen? And Brock talks, yes, but he does. He was physically in El Salvador. He's physically visiting these other countries and helping to. He was in New York when the mayor who wants to take his salary in Bitcoin and celebrating that. Like he's involved. He's doing things and meeting with people to propel and expand and encourage and make blockchain, Bitcoin this thing. And EOS now, Brock is now all in with EOS. So EOS is a perfect, I mean, this is where, do you think that maybe Brock is potentially going to also walk the walk here and talk to some of these nations and encourage the adoption of EOS in terms of what it can bring as a financial settlement layer? Bitcoin is no longer great for this financial settlement layer, right? The idea of it being a digital cash is kind of out the window when you've got 10-minute blocks and limited transactions. Yeah, Lightning is Lightning, but EOS can do pull transactions when we have EOS Power Network. BTC can't do that. Lightning can't do that. So there's things that EOS is going to be able to do, and Brock is the guy to be able to bring it to these other places and make it happen. Like it's just perfect. Like things are just aligning mystically. It seems like there's string pullers just making this happen. And I think again, I've never been more excited about the EOS ecosystem as I am right now. And I come at this just from a fan. Like I'm just an Uber fan who got lucky and won an Eden election and been kind of just hanging around here because I just had the time. And I'm just a fan. And I'm fortunate. I really appreciate the chance to get to speak to my fellow fans about something that I'm just passionate about. And yeah, this is really exciting times that we're in.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like the all the time that passed by, like going through these messy ways of decentralization, and now having all these different pillars like the ENF, like Helios, like block.one stake got smaller through this, through Eden being another pillar, through Pomelo. Like it's really becoming like more and more these like decentralized blockchain that's not starting with a foundation, that's not having immediately large backers that potentially are just more interested in having their backs. It's really a community, and people say like people say it's just like we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum as like decentralized, the SEC like it's a decentralized, and we hopefully I see EOS being on the same track there as a decentralized community and as an open network, having 100%. Their own funding mechanisms, their own
Yeah, we're not dependent anymore. So this idea of decentralization is also something, it's just a word, but it can mean a lot of things. And I think a word that's perhaps more meaningful is independence. And that's a big theme in Dan's book, More Equal Animals, which I encourage everyone to read. And independence, EOS is becoming independent. And we were dependent, whether we wanted to admit it or not, many of us were dependent on block.one. And we're no longer going to do that anymore. We've learned our lesson as a community. We're not dependent on them anymore. I personally have an open hand approach to block.one. I think they're a business, and regardless of all the past and ICO funds and blah, 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 just put it behind you. Today forward, block.one is a business. They're a big business, and they're willing to build something that relates and leverages in some form or fashion the EOS blockchain. They're not, right? So that's forward looking. That's good for EOS, because if other big businesses see, oh, there's this block.one is a huge $10 billion business, and they're leveraging the EOS main public blockchain in some way, maybe we should too. And that's good for EOS. So I think, again, I don't want to belabor this idea of, I don't want to look backwards. I just want to look backwards to learn lessons, learn backwards so you can learn from mistakes and don't repeat them, but don't look backwards to like belabor how you're hurt. And you just take stock of where we're at. And then how do we move forward? What's our best path forward for the success of EOS? And again, let's just all these disparate groups, Eden, ENF, Helios, Pomelo, if we can just EOS price go up, just align, or even if we might have differences, as long as we can kind of be like, that's a goal. We all agree with that goal. Everybody who owns EOS agrees with that goal. Now, how do we align ourselves to manifest that reality? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Not about how to sue B1, not about how to do this other shit. Just price go up, work together, move forward. That's how I view it all. And I think Brock sees that as well. That's sort of where I think he's leaning here.
Yeah, like it's great to have all these different positions, you know, and open discussion, you know, where I mean, it's kind of interesting that block.one comes out with like, okay, we're gonna help Brock like doing Helios right after there was this media event with Eos Funding Network Foundation where he, you know, applied some pressure to block.one, right? So all these, it's needed that there is open discussion on how things can improve, right?
Yeah.
Because like otherwise this community is going to stay the way they are at the moment. We need to push forward, as you said, and we push forward with like focusing on or like what Zach is saying, we need to create things to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily look backwards and start continuously talking about like all the things that could have been better. Like right now, we have everything in place to make things better. We have the tools, we have the funding, and this is a chance to, you know, have a new genesis of EOS.
And be solution oriented. Like I think that it sounds simple, but if we just filter, you have all these feelings. We all have a very important opinion of life, and we have our experiences. But sometimes when we want to respond and reflect through, just put it through the lens of what's the solution, what's the how we solution. I read a lot of sort of comments in discourse sometimes on Discord and Telegram, and it's like I feel like if whoever wrote that, I don't want to take away from their feelings and their emotions, but let's just filter that through forward-looking, solution-oriented. And I think if people could just spend, I mean, even in our personal lives, it's a great way to deal with difficulty. It's just what's the solution through this? How do we just really put that mindset of solution-oriented and moving forward, and you'll manifest a lot more abundance in your life, in your existence, if you just sort of try to focus on that. And it's hard because you know, our emotions can get the best of us. So, but yeah, anyway, going off on the rails here.
Yeah, and I keep like, Brock was really like tweeting a lot. I was showing all these things, these tweets. One more thing, you mentioned like block.one is a business. One of the businesses that's also probably like we see some action there is Bullish, right? And we saw like EOS 1000 at BP EOS.io finding like that they're unstaked, right? So they unstaked a large portion of their EOS, and it might be related to Bullish, right? Very large.
Time
we'll
will
see.
tell.
Time will tell.
Yeah, it's all signs point to EOS being one of the main, one of the few tokens listed on Bullish, and Bullish is going to be a big deal. People, we haven't seen it yet, but just recognize, look at the backers, recognize who Tom Farley is and where he comes from, right? He was the president of New York Stock Exchange. He's the CEO of Bullish. They know people who know people, like they're in the right industry to bring a ton of capital to the ecosystem. And if EOS is one of the only pairs that's available and it's providing some LP and some staking opportunity to collect yield, we're going to see price appreciation. So again, B1 is a great business. Bullish is going to be an excellent addition to the EOS ecosystem. However they want to leverage it, they're just even liquidity. They're just providing even that alone. Never mind, some people don't like the idea of, you know, hashing every five blocks or whatever to the main net. That adds no value. Okay, fine, fair. But they're using the main net, so certainly it adds sentiment value and perceived value, and they provide liquidity. There's value there. It's an objective truth. So super excited, right? Novogratz, you know, obviously, and Peter Thiel, these guys are very well-known guys who have a long track record of success. They're involved with this. So I'm really excited. So much going on, so much to be pumped about. And then Pomelo, right? Like all these things from Pomelo. Like this is where it's a gold mine. Pomelo is a gold mine for anybody, you know, the ENF and Helios looking to support projects, and like really, you don't have to look very hard now. The idea of like, as a VC trying to, geez, we got to find these projects. They're good. They're sitting right in front of you. Comb Pomelo, find the great ones and help kick them off, because a lot of them aren't going to get the funding they need. Pomelo, because there's so many projects, there is only 500K, unfortunately. So a lot of those projects are only going to get sort of just a kick, but it's not going to be enough to fulfill some of the needs. And so there's opportunity. That just means there's opportunity for these other institutions to come in and help fill the void. And then of course there's future Pomelo rounds.
Right. And like jumping ahead a little bit here, you mentioned like that they're choosing EOS.io to build Bullish, and another like financial product that had some news. They were actually at the Singapore FinTech week. I think there was a big fair, Asia.
Chintai.
So Chintai, they were public about like what they built, all the compliance that they're building into their project. It's only possible by using EOS.io.
Yeah.
Right. So they've also received funding from block.one earlier this year.
Yep.
They announced their at the Singapore event, they announced the headquarters there. They will have some headquarters there, and a beta, and they will first of all have a bunch of institutional investors there. So again, this is some things to be excited about.
Chintai is huge. What Chintai is doing, and they did, and those who've been around know that it was difficult to get funding from block.one. Chintai managed to. They got $7.5 million from block.one. So that says something to what Chintai is doing here. And they are, they're providing a tokenization platform for commercial real estate and potentially other assets. So this is where the real world now gets to become represented on a blockchain in a compliant jurisdiction that is, it's all going to follow the rules, and they're going to have to do KYC, AML, like all that's, you're going to have to play in the game in order to participate. But this is pretty huge, and it shows the power of blockchain. They are going to be providing from their private chain. They are going to do tamper evident hashes to the mainnet. Like this is one of the values. Again, people don't understand this. They think, oh, a couple transactions to the mainnet, big deal. What does that do? It's not consuming enough resources to add to my Rex yield, right? No, it's not. But what it does do is it reduces costs for compliance. So when an organization like Bullish, like Chintai, like name your big company that has a huge compliance burden, you can now use an EOS.io backend, track like a database, it's a database, track all your data, and then prove to auditors that it hasn't been tampered with, because check out the hashes. That's valuable. That saves a ton of time. It adds a lot of confidence, and it's going to make these companies operate more efficiently and with lower administrative costs. So they're more successful now. So what Chintai is doing is amazing. I'm super excited to see this thing fully launch. I think, again, we're still scratching the surface of what blockchain is really going to do to this world. And we've seen these trends and these phases, and we're currently in this sort of NFT phase. We were in DeFi a little while ago, and those still aren't the big use cases. Tokenization of real world assets. Look around, everything is, look at all the assets surrounding us. So now put those on a blockchain in terms of ownership and being able to rent them out. We haven't even started it yet. And the other chains they're not as performant as EOS.io, right? We're here for the tech. Look at my gold chains I'm wearing around my neck, that meme we see, right? I'm here for the tech, for the BTC guy. And it's like, no, like the EOS.io, the tech is there. And so this is another example of a use case that leverages the tech and then leveraging the EOS mainnet. So again, pumped about EOS. Gonna buy more EOS, not financial advice.
Okay. So let's get into, like, first of all, like how's the Spicy Rare doing? I think it's not your first NFT that you're on, but this one we have today with you. I don't know if you saw it. Like we put you on a little NFT here.
Awesome.
I'm also premiering my head on these NFTs.
That's
so there are
great.
4 left still. Go to the, if you're not have 4 left to get for you.
There was 50 in total.
Yeah.
40,
they usually
46.
go out very fast.
Wow, 46 people have already grabbed them. That's awesome.
Yeah. You need to get whitelisted for these. To get whitelisted, you need to visit our metaverse parcel. The description and the link to go there is in the description of this videos to all the viewers of the tube, as people say.
Cool.
But yeah, leading over, smooth transition, Marty B. The Eden song. This is your first. This is actually the first NFT where you're at, right?
No,
it's
a
fun.
blush moment, right? I play guitar for a while, and I like to sing sort of, but I'm shy about it all, and I've never. This is my first song, so this is the first time I've really written a song, recorded it. So yeah, that's a first for me to take it easy on. Anyway, thank you. Sorry.
No, definitely. I was thinking about like, okay, hey, this is premiere, like get your Chris Barnes NFT. It's the first one. And then I did a little bit of research and I found out, actually he did one before. And I will probably do a giveaway with these after this show. We usually do some giveaways, and it goes to Crispy Tip Jar.
Yeah, well, the idea was, I mean, so the lyrics are from mostly from Dan's book, More Equal Animals. I'm not a lyricist. That is definitely something I'm not good at. And I wanted to write an Eden song. I felt like, this Eden thing is so cool. The idea that it can really change the world in terms of picking new leaders and just the application is so broad. So like, let's make a song, right? Or in my head, I was like, I'll make a song. So I took the lyrics basically from Dan's book, just some key lines. So that was easy. I didn't have to write it myself. And then, I figured, because I've been basically donating my time from that first Eden election in May until just recently when I'm now, paying myself hourly from my chief delegate funds to do what I've been doing in the community. So that's helped. And the idea was I made this song and it was like a tip jar where if you want to tip me and thank me for my efforts, then you can just buy a song for 1 EOS. Like that was the idea. So it's a lyrical, if the actual song itself, it's a lyric video. So, and the actual song, but awesome. I don't know. I make it for free at some point and just give them away. I mean, it's I don't know. No, I hope you like it. I don't know what to say.
Absolutely.
I've never done that.
No. It was actually my transition to move over to Eden, because we talked about like Bullish, Pomelo, we talked about ENF, and another big player, another pillar of the EOS community that just happened in the last few months is like Eden. We had the first elections, and you do a great job like having the regular meetings and documenting them here.
Thanks.
So again, I will put these things into the show notes. One thing that I really liked, and what I like about these Violet posts, you reinvest all that you're making with Violet Garden, because it's basically like Voice was supposed to be, and we're bidding on these on these posts, and you earn some tokens for the more people bid, and you pledge that all the value that you're making goes back into Eden, right?
I'm not sure how to do it. I am not keeping the tokens. That's right. Yeah. Because John's we still have to figure it out because it's tied to individual accounts. So I can't put a post up as like a chief delegate account. Like there's no chief delegate account that I can post these on. So I have no choice. But yeah, the way John's got Envio is amazing. Like Violet Garden, for those who don't know, is an excellent social media platform that he's got a Pomelo pitch. His Pomelo pitch is looking to actually open it up. There's some really neat mechanics he's considering to make it so that it's not just for Eden members to be able to post. So that's really great, because right now it's sort of restricted to Eden members. And that's because you can log in every day and you can claim free VIO tokens. It's like $1 a day, basically, like a UBI.
Right.
And so how do you prevent civil attacks and just that getting gamed, right? And so right now the answer was using Eden. We spoke earlier, right? Again, Eden is yet to be fully leveraged. Like we're just scratching the surface of what this human layer is going to add to the EOS blockchain that, again, no other chain has. And so he's got that going. Violet Garden is amazing. So that tangent, but so yeah, any VIO tokens I earn from those, I'm keeping in the escrow account. So I see how much it is. And once we figure out, either burn them, so that just adds value back to the entire VIO ecosystem, or once it's possible, I'll donate them to an Eden account that represents the VIO that it has. So, but yeah, those meetings take place. Right now we're on a weekly schedule. They're not short. So we put a YouTube video up. The last meeting though, 2 days ago, was 3.5 hours. It was a marathon.
Wow.
So I do notes. So there's you don't have to watch all 3.5 hours of that meeting video, which is on YouTube. Yeah. If you do, put it on 2x to maybe save some time. but I do summarize the updates from each individual chief delegate, plus just there's a chart that I'm tracking in OneNote that just basically is ongoing items and just keeping track of where we are for these long-standing items that go from meeting to meeting without resolution yet. But trying to be transparent, right? That's the goal. Transparency.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that I also learned about you. You are in you have like Eden funding, EOS Funding Transparency initiative. Like I had it written down here somewhere.
I do. Well, that was my pitch. The reason my pitch for the chief delegate was was going to provide, and I haven't started yet, a transparency service to the community where any recipient of community funds, so that's anything from basically RAM and name fees or inflation. So that's community funds. And that's what's filled the Eden pool, right? It all came from the foundation, which came from the RAM and name fees. So the idea was that I would reach out to all of these recipients and just shine a light onto what they're doing in a good way. It was not like pointing a finger, like, what are you doing with that money? It's more like, what are you doing with that money? And you hopefully it's good things, and announce that to the community, make them aware, and build some, and how can we support you? Like, again, and I figured it was a way too, I could learn about these projects and then try to find the overlap and the synergies so I can try to become aware. I haven't started because there's just so much other stuff to do, and Pomelo threw a big wrench, these videos and getting and trying to help people there, and then just these meetings. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I may need to sub it out. I think I'm at the point now where I'm probably going to have to still try to get that task completed, but I don't know if I'm the guy who's going to actually do it. But I think it's a meaningful thing that needs to happen. Transparency in an ecosystem like this is incredibly valuable. It just helps it helps build trust, right? We want to build trust, and we want to know that things are being done in the right way. And you want to have a place too where you can just go to one spot, one website, and see all the recipients and get a little snapshot of what they are and what they're doing. So that's sort of the bigger vision of what I'm hoping to create with that.
Yes, and it creates accountability. But what you're doing here, and I don't care so much about the funding. I mean, I do care about the funding, but what you do here with these summaries and with these weekly meetings, you also make transparency in what people actually achieve with their time, and that communicates way more. For me, like, what are people busy with? How do they spend their time, and how they push their individual projects forward? That communicates way more of the activity that is happening in the community, and like leading, for example, to the EOS support. They put out their roadmap finally, right? We start seeing roadmaps, and here we see that. Another person like who has a pitch up, right, for big data, CC32D9 from EOS Amsterdam, right? He did the audit of the EOS support. I wouldn't have known that not reading your stuff. So again, kudos for these meetings and the summaries. I can't watch 3 hours videos. I regularly read these summaries here.
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, CC32D9 is he does awesome stuff. He's also got a Pomelo pitch for EOS Big Data, and he's providing public free access to a history of EOS account, daily activity statistics, and financial accounting data. So, and it's increasing server capacity. He's going to adapt it to the EOS version 2.1, and also developing data access API like GraphQL, developing user interface, and keeping it a free service to the end of 2022. I just wanted to point that out because, again, CC32D9 is an excellent contributor. He's been around the beginning. He's a really smart and thoughtful voice in the ecosystem, and I think a lot of us really appreciate him. And that's a great project, because if you're interacting with your EOS tokens and you want to somehow do your taxes, that's a nice service to be able to properly. I haven't used that. I do it the old, like, I just comb my blocks and do it the hard way in Excel, right? But I saw this and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm totally gonna support that. I haven't supported any. I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to use my Eden funding, the chief delegate funding, and how I support Pomelo pitches, because that's another curious dynamic, right? Eden, I've been delegated the responsibility to spend. I think I've got about 1,600 EOS in my account now from 2 months. I haven't spent any of it. Some of it I'm going to take from the past month of my hourly wage for the work I've been doing, but that's not nearly all of it. So I'm trying to think of how do I deploy that, and in terms of supporting these projects. And I think one of the things I'm going to do is offer within the Eden members group a reimbursement, where I'll pick 20 Eden members, the first 20 who didn't get a budget. So it's basically, you're in Eden, so that means you've already got some sort of trust built in there. Someone trusted you to add you here, to vouch for you. And so now I might reimburse, just go ahead and pick your favorite projects. I don't care what they are, but play the game. And I'll reimburse maybe 10 EOS for a bunch of different people, something like that. I think I want to, because it's a way to leverage the Eden community's voice, which I think is something we want to be really proud of, and encourage people to join Eden, because we're only at 350 members thereabouts, and we've got room for 10,000. So, and the perks, one of the perks of Eden, VIO, you can log in and get 50 VIO tokens a day. So there's the incentives to join Eden are starting to pile up. And so one of the incentives is just, you should have a louder voice, I think. And so I'm looking for ways to start to engage in Pomelo, because I haven't yet, but that's coming. And I think I definitely encourage, Eden members who haven't donated yet to recognize that you do have an important, whether you necessarily signed up for it or not, but you've got an important voice in the ecosystem being a part of Eden. So, don't be shy to use it.
Yes. And wrapping up the Eden portion of this show, we already like
going in full circles
I
here.
think this is already Bywire, who received like one of the first recognition grants by the ENF
For the media,
and
yeah.
since then put out a bunch of like EOS news coming out from them. They have a new YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's new, but they put out a nice video about Dan and summarizing basically like Eden and democratic EOS blockchain freedom. So that's a nice video that I will also put in the show notes.
That's awesome. That was a great interview. That one there that Michael did with Dan. That was an excellent interview.
Yeah,
good for them.
Just like
I like
all these
Bywire
clips
stuff
together.
Yeah. They do. He does great stuff there, and they're really. I like how they're expanding, and they took that 100K recognition grant from the ENF, and I don't know for sure, but I think they helped. Like that was to deploy and hire new people and to scale up. So yeah, they do great work.
Right. So this video also will be in the show notes. We have still a bunch of quick news that we're going to go through. And I think we call it a day here with the hot sauce. So Effect Network is one of the projects that's also still on mainnet. I haven't seen them being as excited as the rest of the community. I hope they see Pomelo. I hope they see the potential there. They have their own hackathon going on. There have been news about like they're leaving the mainnet. For all that I know, all their smart contract, their whole DAO, most of their stuff is still on the mainnet. They just used the Binance Smart Chain to basically have some liquidity for the token.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they have a hackathon. They put out a video. It's going to start, I think, on the 23rd of November. It's good. I like it. I still support them. I think they have a solid project going on, and I hope they get as excited about EOS as we are.
Yeah. So yeah, they're not on Pomelo, are they? I haven't noticed one from them.
Like,
yeah. Okay.
No. They're not on Pomelo. They basically have their own thing going on and push forward. But yeah, I don't want to exclude them only because they're not on Pomelo.
Yeah.
So anyone that's interested in building on Effect Network, this Effect Hackathon will maybe be interesting. One thing that they created for this, they created their own Effect JavaScript library, effect.js. But yeah, cool. You will see more information about this when you're going through the show notes. They did an introduction video, which I also going to link. Then again, we talked about a couple of EOS.io chains. One interesting one, definitely when it comes to gaming and NFTs, is Ultra. They starting to ramp up their first partnerships. They just announced Skybound Entertainment. Yeah, the first batch of developers and publishers that are using the Ultra webs, the store basically. For everybody that doesn't know, Ultra is basically like a blockchain-based Steemit, a store for computer games.
Yeah.
But yeah, decentralized.
Yeah, great project for sure.
Yeah. So Chintai we already covered, and yeah. Now for the very last, we have something our own plug. I was so busy. I actually wanted to put an article out today before the show. I only have the header now. So at .gems, we will be showing 2 artists at a really nice German art fair in partnership with Province Digital. Again, all the details will come out after the live stream when I publish the article. This is just a little tease. We will talk about a lot. These 2 artists probably have an interview out leading up to the 17th when the drop date is. And another long-term community member, the Writer Crew actually, launched their own NFT project called UNDRGRND.io. And this will be a cross-chain marketplace, I guess. They right now active on Wax, on EOS, but they also launched on NFTs on Ethereum and Terra. And yeah, but so far, all the NFTs that I see here, all the drops that they did, they're all things that went to their membership card. And mainly these NFTs are on EOS or Wax. And yeah, definitely a shout out. I consider the whole Writer Crew as, parts of our community. Kenny, Sean, active,
Such great guys. Yeah. Wish them all the success. Yeah, they're doing great work. And they pushing through, like grinders, like that's what yeah, they're great and great to talk to. Also, just good dudes.
Yes. So yeah, that's that. I think I'm through with my news. We can go in the chat and see if Jana has some things that she wanted to add or that we missed while we were being in this in this conversation here.
I have not followed any chat at all. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Not
Ooh, Daniel
really.
Keys got the last spicy rare. So the spicy rares are all gone. Awesome. Well, yeah, we are at the 90 minutes mark. Usually I try to get them at half an hour, 45 minutes, but
too much to talk about. No way.
Yeah, and I'm such a pleasure to have you on the show, Chris. So grateful for all the things that you're doing in the community, and also like anytime you're welcome to come back on the show. It's really great talking to you. You have so many insights, so much knowledge about what's happening here. You have an opinion, which is super important. Yeah,
thanks, man.
Super excited.
I'm learning just like everybody else. I'm just passionate. I'm just excited. I don't know. I care. I think EOS has a chance to really change the world. I mean, it sounds hyperbolic, but that's why I'm here, man. I'm not here to make my bags heavy. I'm here because I want to help other people. I really like Brock Pierce had this line once, I remember, where it's like, to be a billionaire is not to have $1 billion, but it's to affect the lives of 1 billion people. And that's what we can do here. Like that, EOS has the capacity to do it. And so thank you for all that you do, Martin. And these shows are excellent. And Jana, what you do as well, like helping build the community and bringing us all together. This is just the beginning. Like, we're just, these things are all coming together. And I'm so excited. This next year is going to be a whirlwind. I think we're going to see so much happen. So thank you very much.
All right. It's a perfect ending. So thanks everyone for tuning in. See you next week at 16 UTC here on the EOS Nation YouTube channel. And we usually end this with let's keep it spicy.